All right then, I'm going on the trip with my mom. You'll stay home, okay? I was completely speechless. But this is the prize I won in the contest. Besides, if the winner doesn't use the ticket, it becomes invalid. I tried to explain, but before I could finish, my husband, Mike, interrupted with something shocking. If you don't like it, we can get a divorce. Excuse me? I'm saying that if you can't go along with what I want, we'll get a divorce. In that moment, whatever affection I had for my husband vanished. My name is Sasha, a 30-year-old office worker. I attended an all-girls school from middle school through university and entered the workforce without ever having a proper conversation with a man. My job kept me so busy that I never had time to fall in love, and before I knew it, I was 25. Realizing I needed to change this, a friend arranged a blind date for me. That's how I met my first boyfriend, a freelancer who lied about being an office worker. Soon after we started dating, he became unemployed, and I realized he intended to depend entirely on me. I broke up with him as soon as I could. After that experience, I became even more distrustful of men and found it hard to believe in them. That's how I ended up reaching 30 without another relationship. My parents were more worried about my situation than I was. Both my father and mother had already been married for several years by the time they were my age, so they were growing increasingly impatient. While getting married in your 30s is common nowadays, back then, 25 was considered the latest acceptable age to tie the knot. Concerned about my lack of a boyfriend or partner, my father started bringing me several arranged marriage proposals, insisting that if I couldn't find someone on my own, he would help me. At first, I repeatedly turned down his offers, but over time, I began to feel guilty about rejecting the efforts my father made on my behalf. I could sense how much both of my parents, especially as their only daughter, wished for my happiness. That's when I decided to take a more positive approach and agreed to go on a blind date, partly to show my gratitude to my parents. It was during one of these blind dates that I met Mike, who would later become my husband. Mike, like me, was 30 years old. He had attended an all-boys school his entire life and, like me, had never had much experience with relationships. What stood out to me about Mike was his deep sense of responsibility toward his parents. He took great care of them, visiting their home regularly, planning trips for them, and even joining them on these vacations. He seemed to have a kind personality and a stable job at a reputable company. I carefully examined Mike's business card, making sure everything was legitimate. I was especially cautious this time, having learned from my previous relationship. Despite my caution and thorough checking, nothing seemed off about Mike. I convinced myself he was trustworthy, and we continued dating. Mike took the lead in our relationship, understanding my shyness, and always treated me with great care. As time went on, I found myself increasingly drawn to him. After 2 years of dating, Mike proposed, and we got married. When my parents heard the news, they were overwhelmed with joy, shedding tears of happiness. I felt fortunate not only to have met a good man, but also to have brought such happiness to my parents. After our wedding, we went on our honeymoon and began our life together as a married couple. Since we both worked, we shared the household chores. Cooking wasn't Mike's strong suit, so I handled that while he took care of the laundry and cleaning. We had a balanced relationship and supported each other, enjoying what I believed was a happy married life. However, everything changed just 1 year into our marriage. It all began when my father-in-law passed away after a battle with illness. After his father's death, Mike became increasingly attentive to his mother, Bianca, who was now alone. On his days off, he would visit Bianca at her house, and the two of them would sometimes go out together without me. Sometimes, Mike would stop by Bianca's house after work and have dinner with her, leaving me to eat alone. On occasion, he even went on trips with just her. I remember one morning seeing him leave the house with a travel bag, and I naively asked if he was heading out on a business trip. To my surprise, he casually replied, "No, I'm traveling with my mother to New York." I was shocked. First, I couldn't believe he planned a trip without informing me. Even more baffling was that he seemed content to keep it a secret unless I asked. I couldn't understand how he could care so much for his mother while completely disregarding his wife's feelings. It wasn't that he ignored me entirely, but this behavior felt like more than just being family-oriented. It was as if he was overly attached to his mother. Despite my growing concerns, Mike showed no intention of changing his attitude or lifestyle. In fact, I don't think Mike even realizes how wrong his behavior is. Despite my concerns, I decided to compromise and stick it out, accepting that this was just how he was. If we divorced after only 1 year of marriage, it would devastate my parents. Besides, I thought if we had a child, maybe Mike's attitude would change. Divorce isn't something to take lightly, so I spent my days trying to make the best of things. To distract myself, I decided to take up a hobby. I recently became hooked on entering contests and winning prizes. It was surprisingly fun. I started entering various contests, winning items like cosmetics and food, and writing reviews. Then, one day, I won something much bigger, a pair of airline tickets to Guam. I was so shocked that I reread the email 3 times, unable to believe I had actually won such a grand prize. I carefully checked the details to make sure it wasn't a scam. There were no suspicious links or requests for my credit card number. It was real. I had genuinely won a trip to Guam. But then, I faced a dilemma. Who should I take? My husband had just returned from a trip to New York with Bianca. Should I ask a friend or maybe my parents? Then it struck me. I decided to give the tickets to my parents so they could enjoy a well-deserved vacation. Excited, I went to their house and shared the news. It's been years since we've traveled abroad. Are you sure about this, Sasha? You won this, my parents said. It's okay. I want to spoil you both for once, I insisted. Seeing their happiness brought me so much joy. But then my dad noticed something. Sasha, this ticket is valid only for the person who won it. It's non-transferable and you can't gift it. What? So I can't give it to you both? I was disappointed. Well, it seems that's the case. But you won it, honey, so why don't you go with Mike? My parents suggested. Reluctantly, I decided to take the trip with my husband. But when I returned home that night, I found a woman's coat by the front door. The coat looked familiar. It was Bianca's. When I walked into the living room, there she was, sitting on the couch, watching TV. Oh, Sasha, you're home. What were you doing out so late? It's your day off, Bianca said casually. I stood there, taken aback. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were here, Bianca, I replied, trying to mask my surprise. Oh, what are you trying to say? Is it wrong for me to visit my son's house? Bianca snapped. No, it's not, I replied, though I couldn't help but feel that Bianca had been kinder to me when my father-in-law was still alive. Since his passing, her attitude had become colder and more critical. Bianca's eyes then landed on the bag I was carrying. What's this? What did you buy? She asked. Inside the bag was a guidebook for our trip to Guam, which I had picked up on my way home. Oh, it's nothing, I said, trying to downplay it. Just show it to me. Huh? Why? Just show it, she insisted, snatching the bag from me before I could react. Guam? Are you just trying to treat yourself? What are you doing with Mike's earnings? I was stunned. What was she talking about? I won a pair of travel tickets in a contest, so I thought I would go on the trip with my husband, I explained. Oh, really? A prize, huh? Bianca's demeanor suddenly shifted, and she seemed almost excited. I had a bad feeling about where this was heading. Just then, my husband walked into the living room, fresh from a bath. Oh, Sasha, you're back. What's going on? I heard my mother's excited voice from the bathroom. Mikey, listen. Sasha won a trip to Guam in a contest, Bianca announced gleefully. Wow, that's great, Mike said, sounding genuinely pleased. Yeah, I replied, so I thought we could go together. I even bought a guidebook. How many people can go on that trip? He asked. It's a pair of tickets, so just the 2 of us, I answered. Mike paused, then glanced at Bianca. Her eyes widened, almost pleadingly, like a dog waiting for a treat. Okay, well then, I'm going to go on the trip with my mom. You stay home, okay? Huh? I was completely speechless. I hadn't realized Mike was this much of a mama's boy. This is the prize I won, I tried to argue. So what? We're a couple. What's yours is mine, and what's mine is my mom's, Mike said with a twisted sense of logic. No way. Besides, you and Bianca just went on a trip a few weeks ago. That has nothing to do with this. That trip was domestic, and Mike paid for it. We haven't been on an overseas trip in years. Bianca interjected, already planning their vacation. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Hey, I didn't even agree that you two would be the ones going on this trip. Besides, the ticket would be invalid if the winner isn't there, I tried to explain. But before I could finish, Mike cut me off with something outrageous. If you don't like it, then we'll get a divorce. Excuse me? I said, if you can't listen and obey what I say, then we'll get a divorce. I never thought he would say that. Any affection I had left for him vanished instantly. Fine, do whatever you want, I replied coldly. Then why didn't you just say so sooner? You're so selfish, Mike snapped back, looking triumphant alongside Bianca, as if they had won some sort of battle. They eagerly started planning their trip together, using the guidebook they had taken from me, while I began considering my post-divorce plans. Later, my husband told me to contact the airline to confirm the trip, so I did as he asked. But I had a different plan. I asked the operator, am I allowed to give these tickets to my husband or any other relatives if I can't bill? The operator replied, sorry, but the tickets are non-transferable, even to family members or relatives. That makes sense, I said. In that case, I'd like to decline the airline tickets I won in the contest. After hanging up, I turned to my husband and said, the tickets are void. We're not going anywhere. I handed the tickets to my husband and said, here are the tickets. Please make sure to check the terms and conditions. He scoffed, dismissing my words. I don't need to read any terms and conditions, he said, leaving the tickets on the shelf without a second glance. It probably never even crossed his mind that those tickets might be invalid. Afterward, I confided in my parents. I asked for their help because I planned to move out of the house on the very day Mike and Bianca were supposed to leave for their trip. My father was stunned when he heard what had happened. I never imagined Mike was this kind of person, he said, clearly shaken. My father had been the one who suggested the arranged marriage with Mike, so he felt responsible. It's not your fault, Dad, I reassured him. He only started showing his true colors recently. Don't blame yourself. I tried to calm him down, not wanting him to carry any guilt. The day of the trip finally arrived. Mike was in high spirits, eagerly preparing to leave. I, too, was looking forward to seeing how he and Bianca would react at the airport. Well, I'm off then. Take care of the house while I'm gone, Mike said, grinning widely. Yeah, have fun, I replied with an equally big smile, which seemed to catch him off guard. He left, a little surprised by my cheerful send-off. As soon as he was gone, my parents arrived to help me move out. We loaded my belongings into their car and headed to the new apartment I had found. It was close to my office, and I had secured it as soon as I decided I'd had enough of my marriage. The apartment was quiet and comfortable, a perfect place to start over. A couple of hours later, my phone rang. It was Mike. Hello. Hey, what's going on? They're saying our airline tickets are invalid. Yes, that's right, I replied calmly. If the winner doesn't accompany the trip, the tickets are invalid. What? You never told me that. I did. I told you to check the terms and conditions. It's all written there. You've got to be kidding me. I didn't read that. Well, that's your fault for not reading it, I said, my voice steady. It's like someone getting sued and claiming they didn't know the law. But what am I supposed to do now? I already booked a hotel in Guam. Like I said, it's none of my business anymore. You and Bianca can sort it out. I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of finality. 10 minutes later, Mike called again. What now? I asked, already exasperated. Why can't I pay with your card? My card? What do you mean? I asked, confusion creeping in. The card you're using as a sub, he said, his voice tinged with panic. I quickly checked my drawers and realized that my secondary credit card was missing. You took my card without asking. I was only borrowing it for a little while, he stammered. But the airline staff said I can't use it. Are you serious? If you're not the owner of the card, you can't use it. But on the internet. Internet? What are you even talking about? I was growing more frustrated by the second. Mike suddenly went silent, then muttered, oh, well, no, before hanging up. I stared at the phone, disbelief washing over me. No way. I immediately checked my credit card statement and found a list of charges I had no recollection of making. Then it hit me. My husband had been buying a lot of clothes and other things recently. He must have used my card without my permission. Furious, I canceled the card and took a screenshot of the statement history, determined to confront him later. A few days after his 3-day, 2-night trip to Guam, my husband called. What's going on? He demanded. All your stuff is gone, and you left divorce papers on the table. What the hell are you thinking? I'm thinking exactly what you think, I replied calmly. I can't live with a mama's boy who prioritizes his mother over his wife. and a thief who uses my credit card without permission. What? If you won't sign the divorce papers, we'll end up in court, I added. Court? Are you crazy? If people at work find out, then I'll request the divorce through my lawyer, I said, cutting him off. So you better cooperate quietly. Realizing he had no way out, my husband reluctantly agreed to the divorce on the condition that there would be no division of property and that he would repay all the credit card charges he had made without my consent. But my plan for justice didn't end there. I didn't have to spread the word about what happened. The news traveled fast enough on its own. My ex-husband soon called me, panicked. This isn't what we agreed on, he shouted. Everyone at work knows what happened. They're all calling me a mama's boy and a thief. I can't even show my face at the office anymore. Oh, what a shame, I replied, feigning sympathy. But I didn't say a word. Did you forget how many people were involved in setting up our marriage? The connection that had arranged our marriage was through my father, a general manager at his company, and my ex-husband's boss, a department head. They were great friends, and our blind date was arranged because my ex-husband's boss thought highly of him. But when the boss found out how my ex-husband had treated me, he was furious. As a result, my ex-husband was removed from the fast track in his career and became a pariah at work. Bianca didn't escape unscathed either. Word of her behavior spread through the neighborhood, and now everyone avoids her. She's become a recluse, trapped by her own actions. As for me, I threw myself into my work and earned a promotion, along with a raise. To celebrate, I took my parents on a long-awaited trip to Italy, where we made wonderful memories together. Although this experience was tough, I've learned a lot from it. I'm ready to find a better man and start a new chapter in my life. It's hard to believe my ex-husband turned out to be not just a mama's boy, but also a thief. There's nothing more anyone can do for him. I'm glad my family and I were able to bond and enjoy our trip to Italy. I'm confident that, with my family's support, I'll find someone truly deserving of my love. Thank you for reading until the end. Please subscribe to our channel, and we hope to see you in our next video.